Today's video begins from my hotel room in Fargo, North Dakota. Looks like it snowed some more overnight. I just checked the forecast and there will be on and off snow all the way into Minneapolis today. So it's going to be another fun day driving in wintry conditions. Thankfully I'll be flying home tonight, where it will be much warmer. Problem is I also have to leave in the dark, which makes it extra fun. The sun won't rise for another hour or so, but before I leave Fargo, I need to get some gas. Current price is $2.55 a gallon. Looks like the roads are wet, so I guess the roads have been plowed and treated, which is great. This is exit 1A, and that means I've entered a new state. Look on the right. Welcome to Minnesota. My flight leaves in 12 hours, and I have a few stops along the way. I planned for a few stops that are quite a ways off I-94, but those probably won't happen. But it all depends on how bad the snow is. But for the stops closer to I-94, I hope I can get those. Hey guys, Emily, welcome everyone! This is the 6th and final day of my freezing cold road trip. And I checked this morning and my flight hasn't been cancelled. I'm definitely ready to go home. But before getting to the airport, let's see what today brings. Let's go! I already crossed one thing off my list. I didn't stop at the Minnesota Welcome Center to do the intro there, since the entire parking lot was covered in snow, and you saw how dark it was. So I thought it would be best to continue on and head to the next stop, which is another half an hour away. It should be less dark when I get there. I actually parked on the street instead of pulling into the parking area because I can't tell where the parking area is. As you see, several inches of snow have fallen, but I could tell where the road is, so I thought it was best to just walk over to this roadside attraction. I'm in the small city of Rothsay, at the rest area. This marker says it's a place to find prairie and wildlife, and there are many preserves in the area. There's another marker that mentions the greater prairie chicken that roam the landscape in this area. Finally, a marker about changing prairie landscape. It says the grass was once taller than a man on horseback. Walking underneath this canopy of lights, which might just be here for the holidays, and just ahead is the world's largest booming prairie chicken. Why do I say this chicken is booming? It's when this chicken puffs its cheeks, showing a large bright orange air sac. This marker below says the prairie chickens preceded human settlers in this area of Minnesota. In the spring, the male chicken started mating ritual by spreading his wings and puffing his cheeks, then making a booming sound. Rothsay was designated the prairie chicken capital of Minnesota, and this giant prairie chicken sculpture was constructed. There's a close-up of the puffy orange cheeks, so I guess this lean dude is ready to go. The statue is sculpted by Art Fosse as part of this country's bicentennial celebration. Unveiled in June 1976, the statue is 13 feet tall and 13 feet long. It weighs 9,000 pounds and is a great place to stretch your legs and get that fun pic next to a large chicken in heat. Now that I give this a second look, I think the metal canopy is permanent, but the garland and lighting is probably here for the Christmas season. It was also helpful for me to find the walkway, since everywhere else is covered with snow. I still have plenty of time until my flight leaves. It's just 8 AM, but it's only 17 degrees, and it's snowing again. Let's move on. The speed limit is 70 miles per hour, but I'm approaching a curve, so I've slowed down to about 50 or so, because it's so slippery. So I'll let people more familiar with driving in this weather pass me. I'm now in the city of Fergus Falls at the Angel of Hope Memorial Park. There's a lot of snow on the ground here, even more than I saw at Bismarck yesterday. I've never seen this kind of memorial park before. This one was created in 2011 to remember all children from Fergus Falls that have passed away. Children of any age and any cause of death are remembered and honored here. According to their Facebook page, the Angel of Hope Memorial Park provides a place of comfort and hope to parents and family members who grieve the loss of a child. This is a wonderful idea. I wish more communities would do something like this. Near this memorial is a popular roadside attraction. Meet Otto, the world's largest otter. He's another large roadside attraction that I've seen so many of during the freezing cold road trip. It's more than a coincidence that I'm in Otter County. The sculpture was created by high school students. The shop teacher Tom Willett and metal artist Steve Janich teamed up to build Otter for Fergus Falls' 100th anniversary celebration in 1972. It definitely is special, and it's been looking at Grotto Lake ever since. Otto has whiskers and also a few icicles hanging off of it. It's 40 feet long and made of concrete formed over an endoskeleton made of metal rods. If you get here early, you get to see the coveted picnic table right in front of Otto. Who wouldn't want to be super close to Otto? You might be able to sit next to Otto, but there are signs telling you not to climb on Otto. And the city is not responsible for any injuries if you decide to climb on him. Otto has become the mascot of Fergus Falls, and people like myself travel great distances to get a fun pic with him. Have you seen Otto the Otter? Please leave me a comment. You now have to get every angle possible, even though my lower legs are frozen from being in the snow. The high school students that met Otto in 1972 are surprised how well the sculpture has held up. According to a CBS News article from 2011, the students were worried that the Otter's midsection might collapse. Now they show it to their kids and grandkids with pride. Some of those icicles below Otto's stomach are very long. This was a fun stop even though the roads are very slick and covered with snow. Alright, let's head to my next stop. Alright Google Maps, why'd you take me this way? The next roadside attraction was about 2 miles from the interstate, but it took me out 10 miles of icy 2-lane roads. I reached the city of Ashby. The population of the city is just 469 people as of the 2020 census. The snow is starting to come down pretty good again. There's something in this little park called Bowie Park. Just beyond this covered area, which has a couple of very large picnic tables, take a look at this giant duck statue. This duck is called a coot, and is a common breed of duck in this part of Minnesota. This is meant to spotlight the Coots Unlimited Sportsman Club. Down here it says Coot, then the second line says LA, then 92 AB. I'm not sure what that means. This is a very large duck statue built in 1991. Notice there are metal poles bracing the heavy wings to prevent them from falling off. The backstory was many years ago, several Ashby residents shot many coot ducks and decided to have a gathering. It became an annual event, and on the third year the group held a banquet at the Ashby Motel and Resort to raise money. They called it the Coots Unlimited Banquet. The event is typically held the Saturday before fishing season starts at the Ashby American Legion. They don't serve Coot Duck anymore, but they've sold roughly 400 tickets a year. and the proceeds go to wildlife projects in the Ashby area. The Coot Duck is made of concrete poured over a metal frame. I'm guessing this big duck is about 15 feet tall. From the concrete base to the tops of the wings, the wingspan might be 10 feet or so. This duck is about 2 miles or so off Interstate 94 on Highway 78. It's a good fun pick opportunity for sure, but the poor thing looks so cold. Anyway, let's move on. With all that snow that fell, the road conditions have deteriorated on Interstate 94. Very, very slick driving right now, going well below the speed limit since I'm approaching a curve. I've got about 150 miles until I reach Minneapolis, and I wasn't expecting any additional snow today. I've reached the city of Alexandria. The city has a couple of nicknames. One is the Runestone City, which is unusual to me. I'll talk about what our runestone is in a few minutes. The snow is continuing to come down, and sticking to the roads. It's still 18 degrees outside. Alexandria's other nickname is the birthplace of America. Legend has it this was the first area visited by Scandinavian explorers in 1362. To commemorate that visit, take a look at this giant Viking statue. This is Big Ole. He stands in Big Ole Park, overlooking downtown Alexandria. This big guy was built in 1965, but he was built for display in the World's Fair in New York. This marker shows how to pronounce Big Ole's name, and he was created to accompany the Kensington Runestone to the World's Fair. He's 28 feet tall and weighs 4 tons. You can make donations for Big Ole's upkeep at the Runestone Museum's website. After the World's Fair ended, Big Ole was moved to Alexandria. His original spot was at the north end of downtown, where he looked huge compared to most buildings downtown. Big Ole had to deal with some shenanigans. One year during the Christmas season, someone shot a flaming arrow at him and set him on fire. Later, his sword was broken off by vandals. In 1996, his leg was crushed by a felled roof during a snowstorm. But the most humiliating thing that may have happened to Big Ole, someone had a very large, between his legs. In 2002, Big Ole moved from his downtown location to the small park in front of Lake Agnes. He was restored in 2015 and 2016. Whether Vikings actually discovered America at this very point in the year 1362 is up for debate, but this is a fun stop not far off the interstate. I mentioned Runestone, so let's go see that now. I'm at the eastern outskirts of town, and it's still snowing pretty good. It's very beautiful though, but I think the snow is a little too dry to make a good snowman out of it. This used to be the main thoroughfare leading into Alexandria before Interstate 94 opened, and it's easy to see from this road. This is a large replica of the Kensington Runestone found nearby. This is 5 times larger than that runestone, which was said to be carved in 1362 when the Vikings discovered this area. On the bottom left is what the stone's carving says. We are 8 Swedes and 22 Norwegians on an exploring journey. We had a camp by a lake with 2 rocky islands. One day's trip north from the stone. They went fishing, and then when they came back, 10 of our men were dead. On the bottom right, it says the original runestone was discovered in Solem Township In 1898, this replica was erected in 1951 by the Alexandria Kiwanis Club, and then there's a list of benefactors that helped pay for this monument to be built right off the main highway. The actual runestone is located in the Runestone Museum across the street from the Big Ole statue I just saw. Many scholars believe the Kensington Runestone is a hoax, thinking this is actually a hoax perpetrated by Olaf Oman, who said he found it while plowing his land in 1898. A professor at the University of Minnesota collaborated with a number of linguists and historians to study the stone. They later published an article in 1910 believing it to be fraudulent, and the carvings were made recently. Further, the language used in the inscription was more modern and not from the 14th century. There was also no other evidence of an encampment of visitors from Norway. I came back to the park to use the restroom, but I also wanted to show where the museum is. It's the building that has the letter A on it. Also, I'm hoping for the sun to come out soon. In the late 19th century, maybe coinciding with the influx of immigrants at the time, there was a great deal of fascination about the Scandinavian Americans and how they may have settled across the country, and there were many hoaxes spread at that time. Anyway, I'm heading back to Interstate 94 and continuing my journey southeast bound toward Minneapolis. About 20 miles away is the city of West Union. The population of this town is just 93 people. There's a cute roadside attraction at this intersection. At this feed store are a number of scrub metal animals on property. Take a look at these cows and pigs on and under this small bridge going over a drainage ditch. These animals were created with recycled metal barrels, tanks, and other canisters. It looks like they've been painted recently. I can't find a whole lot of information about who made these or when they were created. I checked on Google Maps and they have images of them going back to 2009. These are really cute though, and they do seem to be maintained. There are 2 cows and 2 pigs. The pigs look to be made mostly of barrels. This cow has a cast iron pod for the udders. The cows' heads are made from large milk canisters. Their torsos are also some sort of container. I wouldn't have even thought to stop here, but it was on roadsideamerica.com and it was right off Interstate 94, so I put it on the list. I think the little pig under the bridge has the right idea. Stay out of the snow. This is West Union Feed Store. And on the property, there are some small grain elevators. I guess this is where people around here get feed for their large farms near here. Okay, gotta get back on the interstate. Let's move on. I drove for about 50 miles or so, and the conditions have definitely improved. There's not a lot of snow on the ground. The roads are clear, but it's still cloudy. I feel like I'm out running a storm or something. I decided to stop for lunch, and also I'm filling up a tank of this Love's. I saw the price per gallon on a billboard, and I know the prices in Minneapolis are much higher than this. It's just $2.59 here, which is fantastic. Continuing on, and maybe I am outrunning a storm. It started to snow again, and some of it's blowing around on the pavement. I think what I'm gonna do is skip a couple of things and get closer to Minneapolis. Alright, now I'm inside the Minneapolis metro area, on the western side of the city of Buffalo, Minnesota. There's a perfect roadside attraction for a city named Buffalo. This giant wooden nickel. Would you look at the size of that coin? It's gargantuan. 20 feet tall and reminiscent of the old Buffalo nickels that were minted in the early 20th century. I'm at Gilchrist Orchards, which is an apple farm. The orchard owner says Minnesota apples are the best on earth. I'm sure the apples are good, but this Georgia girl begs to differ. Apples from many of the orchards in Alexandria and Blue Ridge are the best. Gilchrist Orchards sells many varieties of apples. The cider and made many different ways, like hard cider, mulled cider, and sparkling cider. But this isn't a retail store where you can walk in and buy a peck of apples. This is a wholesale orchard, which means they sell large amounts of apples to retailers. This is some interesting artwork. It looks like a piece of a roof in a cylinder placed on the center of that roof segment. I'm not sure if that means anything, but it's next to this 20-foot tall wooden nickel. Also, I'm not sure why the nickel is dated 2018. Gilchrist Orchards didn't open until 2021. It doesn't seem to have any reference to when the city of Buffalo was incorporated. Buffalo was formed in 1856, and actually this is not within Buffalo city limits. It's starting to snow again, so I must be ahead of a cold front that's causing the snow. But this is a great fun pick opportunity that's not far off I-94. The skyline of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul is in view. When I was here in April, I trimmed down some of the things I wanted to see in the cities, but since I'm back, I have a second chance to see places I missed. It's getting dark, so I think it'll start snowing, but right now there's no snow, no wind, but it's cold, still in the lower 20s. I looked out by taking this off-ramp, which is a great view of the skyline as I go right into the downtown area. There's some blue sky showing up, so maybe I won't get any snow after all, but we'll see. What's for sure is there's absolutely no traffic going into the city. Very near the Prince Mural in the parking garage that I captured in April is the legendary First Avenue nightclub, that they call the Danceteria. Each superstar represents a prominent entertainer that has performed here since the venue opened in 1970. Take a look at some of the names: New Order, Paul Simon, Public Enemy, Fugazi, The Replacements, Ice Cube, Black Keys, The Pretenders, Hank Williams, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, They Might Be Giants. This is an incredible list. The Ohio Players, they sing that song Love Roller Coaster, Love and Rockets, Mighty Mighty Bosstones, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Melissa Etheridge, Queen Latifah, Pantera, Roger Miller. In addition to the musical stage, there's a tavern here. First Avenue is across the street from the Target Center. Limp Bizkit, Ronnie Spector, she sang Be My Baby. Bjork's old band, The Sugar Cubes, Psychedelic Furs, many genres of music from progressive or alternative, funk, soul, rock, and acts from the 1960s to today. And I'm just on one of the walls. There's more on the other side. This gold star notes First Avenue's 50th anniversary in 2020. This venue is probably best known for launching the career of Prince. That's right, the amazing career of Prince started right here at First Avenue. He has a special gold star next to his band, The Revolution. Minneapolis is also known for the horrific killing of George Floyd, remembered with a red star. On this wall I see Rod Stewart, The Cure, Joe Cocker, Alice Cooper, Wu-Tang Clan, The Black Eyed Peas, The Eurythmics, Chubby Checker, Smashing Pumpkins, James Brown, Grandmaster Flash, The White Stripes, Anthrax, The Violent Femmes, The Time, The Cult, Tracy Chapman, Stray Cats, The Kinks, Pearl Jam, Iggy Pop, Bjork, Indigo Girls, Tesla, Radiohead, Tiny Tim, Ray Charles, Aerosmith, De La Soul, Foo Fighters, Chris Isaac, B.B. King, Eminem, Kool and the Gang, Sonic Youth, Banning Down, and there's Iggy Pop and Cheap Trick by the Blue Coast. Across the street, and here's a wide view of the stars on just one side of the venue. First Avenue is one of the longest running independent musical venues in the United States. I really just spent a solid 15 or 20 minutes just looking at all these musical acts that performed here. There are over 400 stars on the black walls of First Avenue. A full list of stars is found on their website, first-avenue.com. There's so much musical history here. It's amazing if you love music. I bet this is a great place inside, hearing some of the great music. You might hear someone that will be famous someday. Not far from the First Avenue nightclub is this impressive painted mural of Bob Dylan. This mural is 5 stories tall and it's very vibrant and colorful. This mural was created in 2015 by artist Eduardo Cobra, and it's the largest mural he's ever created in the United States. This fantastic mural is also the most shared image located in the state of Minnesota. This mural took 2 weeks to paint, and it features black and white images of Bob Dylan in 3 stages of his life, which are superimposed in what looks like a kaleidoscope of colors. Going from left to right is Dylan starting out as a young musician just beginning his music career to a respected elder statesman. It also features his famous lyric, "The times they are changing." It's like I have the entire city of Minneapolis all to myself, doesn't it? I filmed this on Thanksgiving Day, so not much is open, and I'm able to park wherever I want. No traffic and hardly any people. Notice how the pedestrian overpasses from building to building. Minneapolis has a large network of indoor walkways. It's very handy when the weather becomes snowy and frigid. As I'm heading to my final stop in downtown, there are hardly any cars or people out. When I was here in April, it was very difficult to find street parking, and when I did find parking, I'd have to walk several blocks to see something. My final stop in downtown Minneapolis is at U.S. Bank Stadium, a gigantic edifice resembling a Nordic ship, and this is where the Minnesota Vikings football team plays. The building opened in July 2016 and cost just over $1 billion to construct. Take a look at the corner of the stadium. It features what looks like the front of a Viking ship, with the sail is a large video board. The eyes on the dragon head glow red, which is pretty cool. Viking ships typically have dragon heads. I like this Viking ship. This is a great place for fans of the Vikings to get a fun pic, especially after a victory. Now I'm on the Viking ship, and there's a timeline of important events from the Minnesota Vikings franchise. There are also a few medallions that show corporate sponsorships of the stadium. And I just noticed there are oars on the ship. That's pretty awesome. I've seen a few Vikings games on TV, and they have a really great fan base. I'm keying in on this fact from 2009, where the Vikings mentioned Brett Favre coming to the franchise and almost taking them to the Super Bowl in 2009. I love this video panel acting as the sail of the vessel. At one point you could have bought a brick for the Esplanade. Look at this big brick that mentions the Vikings' very first game in team history on September 17th, 1961. Minnesota has a great fan base for all their pro sports teams. including the baseball Twins and the basketball Timberwolves. Hockey's team is called the Wild, and the WNBA's Lynx. What's interesting is, while all the teams refer to themselves with the state name of Minnesota, all of them play in either Minneapolis or St. Paul. US Bank Stadium is a beautiful building. Have you ever seen a game here? Please leave me a comment. Alright, so that was a successful trip to Minneapolis. Not very many people here at all. And I had easy access to street parking throughout the city. I got to see some things that I missed when I visited a few months ago. Now I have to head to the airport and fly back home to Georgia. The plane was actually there when I got to the airport. And while it was parked at the gate, snow was falling, and that had iced up the plane. While we did leave the gate on time, we were diverted to this area where they're going to de-ice the plane. I live in the south, and everything shuts down when there's a winter storm, so this is my first experience with having a plane de-iced before takeoff. I've been here for about 45 minutes, and the snow is really getting hosed down. You can see it's still snowing out, and that might be why it's taking so long. But I'm fine with waiting as long as it takes so we can take off safely, even if it is Spirit and we don't get free beverages. Alright, a successful takeoff, and it's less than a 2-hour flight to Atlanta. I think I'm gonna remember this trip for a long time. I've never been crazy enough to attempt a road trip in the winter, but after 6 days, I did it. I've heard of people flying to Denver and then driving to a ski resort, but driving to remote places in the ice and snow? Don't recall anyone doing that. The closest I can think of is out on the Woo's cross-country road trip when a rare snowstorm hit New Mexico and Texas. I'm going to remember this for a long time, and I'm glad I captured photos and video. So where to next? I have more road trip videos planned, but there's a 0% chance of snow. We'll see that next time. Thanks for watching, bye!